Oh, what's going on, Game Leaper? This is the Jizz back at it with another video teaching you how to AD carry at the highest level. And for some people, even the best in the world like T1's Gumayusi, they end up running it down. And some of the concepts and techniques we look at in the next 10 or so minutes, these are absolutely crucial to not only understand, but to also apply in your games. And by mastering these techniques, you are going to die a heck of a lot less and get way more golden experience because you will be on the map, not looking at a grey screen. So to know the key principles that even the best AD carries in the world don't do sometimes, make sure you stay tuned for the whole video, and also make sure to check out the Game Leap website linked in the description and comment section. All your League of Legends needs. We have high elo VOD analyses, we have champion courses and guides, and what our videos strive to do is to help you improve. They are made by the best challenger players and coaches in the world, so get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the gameplay. Now, the first little important detail here is that when Gumayusi is running to lane, he can see that Jhin and the enemy Leona are already in the lane. So walking through this tri-brush, there is no threat of the enemy bot lane being here, so this is all good. But if the enemy bot lane hasn't showed in lane, always be careful about running through this tri-brush. It would be wiser to go all the way around through Krugs or toward this brush if you are actually going to leash. But moving on, when Gumayusi gets to lane, you can see him here applying the diagonal line theory, and I just love this theory, not only because I coined it and invented it, but because it's so true and is being applied all the time by the top ADCs. So what I mean is this: where do you think the enemy Leona is right now? Because we've seen her in the lane, but she's hiding somewhere. And where's she going to hide? Probably in this middle brush to the bottom. So Gumayusi, knowing that the big enemy threat is towards the bottom side of the lane, he decides to hold the high side. This creates as much space as possible from that big threat and keeps him safe. So to all you AD carries who keep getting hit by the Blitzcrank hook, the Morgana Q, stand diagonally opposite that support, guys. You are not going to die nearly as much by just doing this simple thing. But in terms of the minion wave here, what Gumayusi doesn't do, which to be honest is kind of criminal, in a Caitlyn Zyra lane where you have the range support and the enemy support is a melee Leona, can someone tell me why Gumayusi doesn't queue the minions here? Because as Caitlyn, you don't want to be playing on the back foot. Your job is to win lane because you are one of the strongest, if not the strongest laners. So letting Jhin and a melee support have the push here is really bad because you're not going to hit level 2 first and you're not playing towards your champion's strengths. So really Gumayusi should put a Q through this melee minion and these 3 range minions if he can. This would mean that Zyra and Caitlyn would have the push and they would hit level 2 first, pretty much nullifying any threat that Jhin and Leona might have. So what happens as a result, the wave ends up being here, which is kind of okay, but it allows Jhin and Leona to have control over this lane because they have the minion advantage. And as a result of these first 2 minion waves, so Jhin and Leona hitting level 2 first, you can see that it's actually kind of treacherous for Caitlyn and Zyra to run back towards the middle of this lane because Leona can set up in the brushes. This makes it a lot more dangerous, and this is going to continue. Jhin then gets access to this cannon wave or the 3rd minion wave, and he's allowed to get the push yet again. But Gumayusi, his positioning is still outstanding because Leona is obviously towards the bottom side of this lane, so Gumayusi holding the north side makes complete sense. But I'm not sure if Gumayusi woke up on the wrong side of his bed this morning, but when Zyra lands her snare here, this could have been an easy Q for the Caitlyn and a nice bit of poke, because to be honest, he's too far away to trap the Jhin and actually activate this in time. And thankfully, Leona also hasn't had her caffeine because she stuns one of Zyra's plants instead of the Zyra herself, and you never know, potentially this could have led to something. But you see the difference here. Caitlyn and Zyra hit level 3 before Jhin and Leona, so now the lane is in their control, and for champions like these, it becomes so much easier to play. But it's so important, guys, to count cooldowns when you're in these situations. So as we're playing this lane, you can see Zyra lands her snare, but Caitlyn again doesn't use her Q to capitalize on this little bit of CC. So there's a bit of damage we missed out on. And all of a sudden, Leona decides to go on the Zyra here. And in moments like these, which are going to happen, it's so important to understand your role as an AD carry. When you are not the primary target, you have all the time in the world to deal as much damage as possible to the enemy champions because they're not focusing you. So Gumayusi, to try to protect his support, puts a beautiful trap down in front of the Jhin here and tries to go ham onto the engager, which is Leona, because he knows Leona doesn't have any cooldowns because she used them on Zyra, so there is no real threat here, and being able to land that trap on a Jhin, this just straight up saves the day. But Gumayusi is actually going to commit a cardinal sin here in the next 5 seconds, despite doing so well in the fight previous, because what he's going to do, he's going to run up towards the Leona who is in this brush, and even though he wards it here, Leona is very close to coming back off cooldown, and she may be kind of low HP, but if you look at Zyra here who's on 100 HP, it's so risky to move towards these 2 champions. All he should do is focus on the wave and maybe shoving this out, so him and Zyra can recall and get back to lane on full HP, but just by moving a little bit towards the south side of this lane, he puts himself in grave danger, and even though he does everything he can to escape, he ends up dying and Jhin picks up a double kill. So even though Gumayusi positioned pretty much perfectly for the first few minion waves, just one little mistake can get you killed as an AD carry, which is why the role is going to drive some of us crazy, but that's just the nature of it these days. Now when Gumayusi returns to lane here guys, what he does with the next couple of minion waves actually gets him killed in the near future, so I'm going to teach you something so important here when you're actually pushing the minion wave into the enemy champions. So after clearing these minions under his tower, the correct decision here is to do what? It's actually to slow push this minion wave, because what this is going to do, it's going to stack another minion wave, so you have a really big bunch of minions. This makes it very difficult, even if you're behind like Gumayusi, for the enemy champions to actually capitalize, because your minions will deal so much damage to them. So what he's doing here in terms of just last hitting is absolutely correct. And a quick tip, when you are CSing in these situations where there is no pressure on you at all, you can position your character as close as possible to the minions, because that means your projectile, so your auto attack, doesn't have as far to travel. It's more instant and in time with the actual minions HP, so you don't have to anticipate your own minions damage as much. But when the next minion wave collides, what do you think Gumayusi should do? Do you think he should slow push one more wave or shove this out as soon as possible? Well, the first question you ask yourself is, can you shove the minion wave? Now, Gumayusi in this situation certainly can. This is not a cannon wave, and he also has Zyra here to help him hard push. But the next question you want to ask is, do I really want to shove this minion wave? Is there more of a benefit to me stacking one more by just last hitting and then shoving the next one? Well, whenever you are behind like Gumayusi is in this lane, you never want to lane longer than you have to. So getting 3 minion waves under your belt is a great way to stay in the game and in the lane. So what Caitlyn and Zyra should be doing, Caitlyn should be queuing through as many minions as possible, Zyra should be queuing the ranged minions. They just have to shove this wave, because it's giving the enemy champions more time to kill them in the near future. So by clearing these minions, you give the enemy champion something to do, so in other words, CS your minions, at which point you can get a free recall off, buy some items, and get even closer to the enemy champions who have a lead, as they do in this situation. So you're going to see here, by stalling this hard push out until another minion wave, Gumayusi is staying on the map for longer than he really should. Look at where this lane is. Caitlyn and Zyra have to run up so far, or in other words, just really far away from their own tower. So this makes the lane longer for the enemy champions. So champions like Nautilus, Leona, Pyke, and junglers like Echo, for example, love it when they have space to operate. So by shoving the previous minion wave, Caitlyn and Zyra would not have to push up this far. They could shove, recall like I said, and they wouldn't be in such a precarious position. This invites Leona and Echo, bang, you can see them come out of this river brush, to gank his lane, because they know he's going to stay here for another 20 or 30 seconds, then perhaps he should. So even though Gumayusi's mechanics may be the best in the world when it comes to AD carries, sometimes it really doesn't matter how good your mechanics are. In terms of your positioning and wave management, these are always going to be way more important than how fast you click your mouse and your keyboard keys. So take these vital tips with you into your games, guys, and if you did enjoy the video and the tips, make sure to leave a like down below, and also tell us what role we should cover next. Maybe a bit of top lane, we haven't done one of those in a while, so let us know in the comments, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future pre-season uploads and season 12 uploads. And until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been the Jizz, and until then,